so important to see regional communities and for people to see themselves on stage, because all too often it's so easy for us to see city stories on stage that don't resonate with us.
It's JUTE's 30th birthday. There's so much to celebrate, and one of the great things JUTE provides is a pathway for regional artists to live and work in the region, but actually be able to work in this great artistic industry. And my next guest has certainly forged a path for herself. Roz Pappalardo, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
So good to be here.
Roz, I guess many people would know you primarily for your music, as a solo artist, but also as part of Women in Docs and other musical partnerships that you've been involved with. But JUTE really opened up a different door for you, didn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of acting.
Yeah, and something that, as a teenager, you kind of, might dabble in or play with after, a school experience or something, but to actually be able to have an opportunity to be on stage in a professional context, but also, understanding that there is a whole list of skill sets that you need to hone and learn and develop, and that those skill sets never go away, and they never are fully learnt, for me anyway. That's not the way I roll, but knowing that JUTE was able to give me an opportunity to get on stage as a professional actor and trust me to do that, because I was a touring muso, and I'm really good at that, but the other pathways needed to be developed, and etc. etc. So JUTE was able to offer me an opportunity to get on stage, increase my skill set, and kind of learn and develop those skills to even beyond acting, dramaturgy, understanding things like, sound design and lighting design, all those really important things that are such an important attaché when you're a musician.
Yes.
So now my skills are pretty rounded in that world, and you wonder what you can't do.
Let's talk about your first play with JUTE.
Back there.
What Are the Odds, which was written by Angela Murphy, 2011, I think.
She was. That's a wake-up call.
And for you, I guess, was this, how should I put it? It didn't involve singing, basically.
It didn't involve
a straight
singing.
Acting role.
Yeah.
So I want you to take us to, the first night you're performing and you're about to go on backstage. What was the feeling? You've learned all your lines.
Yeah.
And
well, it's that whole being in the moment, and what did Ian Lawson used to say to me? Thinking about the bigger picture. There's a word, and so I'm sitting there going, it's this Roz, but I can't remember. but just sitting there and trying to make sure that my skills were and I wasn't just rambling off lines. It was something that was in me, and I was present, and I was in the moment, and I was thinking about the given circumstances. Thank you. And understanding that music isn't the only way for me to connect to an audience. It's a big way that I connect to the audience, and it's my safe place to be.
Yes.
Absolutely. So it was a really scary, almost off-putting experience, but as a musician, and I write work regularly as a musician. Every time I play a new work as a musician, I'm faced with fear, I guess, because you don't know how this is going to go across. Yep. So I just sort of employed those kind of safety mechanisms, and it was a great experience. My goodness, I met amazing local artists in Kathryn and Tia Atterberg, and of course Sewell and Maunda, a national playwright, a national director, Ian Lawson, and then this whole kind of new world of sets and lighting, and I had what this was all about. But yeah, it was an incredible launch pad for me. And Angela Murphy, what a popular and exciting, person to be around.
So after What Are the Odds, it didn't put you off theatre.
It didn't.
You've done other shows for JUTE. The next one was really scary.
Yeah.
One-woman show.
Yeah. It was Rosa.
Rosa.
And I wrote that, and I think, if I'm to be corrected, the writing of that might have started before What Are the Odds? Mm-hmm. Potentially, because I remember going to the theatre to see to JUTE theatre and to see a wonderful one-woman show called Blackbird, mm-hmm. By an amazing First Nations artist from Mount Isa called Megan Samardan. And she was a young woman, and she was surrounded by a musician whom I knew from Brisbane, who's a leading guitarist in the country. And I remember watching that, and I remember walking out of the theatre, was it at the end of the show or whatever, and I went to the bar, because, you know, that's a nice place to stand. And I was saying to the people around me, I was talking to Mr. Nigel Pegram, and there was this other woman sitting to this side of me, the left of me, and I was just kind of saying to Nige, oh, I think I've got a story that I can wrap into a context like that. And then this woman sitting next to me was Sewell and Maunda, and she was like, do you? Do you think you've got a story?
Ears pricked up.
Yeah, and then like all great leaders and great visionaries supported me to tell that story. And Rosa was about my grandmother, my nonna on my dad's side, and I played a number of my family characters from Australia to Sicily and back, and had the opportunity to take that work to the Brisbane Cabaret Festival, the Brisbane Powerhouse, and to Italy as part of an industry conference to present it there.
How'd it go in Italy?
Well, they went really well, actually. I think the story and the heart of it translated, and I think everyone, especially in Italy, gets the family importance and the need to find who you are through the generations. So that was that.
Wow. And how did you find that experience being, I mean, I can imagine being on, like, you wrote the whole thing, but being on stage, it's just you out there.
Yeah, well, I guess it was just me out there, but through the process of detailed direction, which was Sewell, and at the time, in that instance, I never felt like I was alone out there, right, because I had my other characters and my people in the different scenes that I had recreated in my mind. They were there with me. I can see the butcher in my mind, and I can see, you know, the fisher ladies in my mind, and I had my guitar.
Yes.
I had my guitar.
Your comfort.
I had my comfort zone, and I had my box, which was my nonna's. It wasn't really, but it was a recreation of my nonna's box of, you know, a glory box. So I worked really hard to keep that story in my mind, and that's a skill that you do develop probably as a musician, but certainly it was a skill that I've definitely honed more as a result of being on JUTE Theatre stage.
You've done a couple of other shows for JUTE, but I'd like to talk about La Bella Figura, which was your most recent turn on
that was only last year.
With Frank Dangelico, of course. Another beautiful piece of theatre, which involved singing. So,
yes.
But, you know, drawing on both your and Frank, your Italian heritage again, like Rosa. So what was that experience like? You know, working with Frank and working with, you know, a cast of and an ensemble as well.
Yes. It again was quite different, and I think it was different for me because it was quite a number of years on from Rosa, and I think I had developed as an actor and developed as a storyteller in that way, and I knew a lot, and I know a lot of the creatives who were involved as fellow artists and as friends, because that's the other thing that I've gained from the theatre, this JUTE theatre kind of engagement, is a lot of these creatives are my friends now, as well as my colleagues. You kind of blur the lines, right? So I felt really comfortable in that world, and the stories that we told in that world were from each of our lives, and it was very personal. A lot of it was very, very personal, almost too personal sometimes. But, you know, I remember one of the first songwriting workshops I ever did when I was 16. The songwriting teacher, whose name was Graham Connors, who's a Mackay-based country music singer, and he said to me, "The closer you get to the bone, Roz, the better it is for your audience, because the audience want to see that, that kind of, and so whilst it was scary to deliver La Bella and to write La Bella Figura, but then, you know, the beauty of that was how it resonated with audiences across this region, how people who had never, one of the beauties that people who had never been to the theatre had driven kilometres, you know, from different locations to see themselves on stage. And it's really important when we look at the works that JUTE Theatre, and I would dare say other regional theatre companies make, it's so important to see regional communities and for people to see themselves on stage, because all too often it's so easy for us to see city stories on stage that don't resonate with us. And when they don't resonate with us, it's easy because there's no one in the audience. You know? Exactly. But La Bella Figura resonated with the community. It resonated with Frank and I because it was so much our story, and it resonated with obviously all the creatives because they saw what it was doing, the magic it was weaving. We kind of wove this crazy magic, and you know, to see Frank, who had never been on stage in that way, rise and like turn into a different person each night, and for me to kind of embody, you know, my mother, you know, different women's habitats to sing those songs, which were beautifully written by another regional creative, Robina Kimia, who is not of Italian heritage, but certainly understood the familial bonds. It was a pleasure, and I would love to see that work have another life down the track somehow, somewhere, with or without me, whatever. But I think it deserves another life because family stories, regional family stories, because we all come, you know, unless you're First Nations, we all come from different communities. God, it resonates.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Can you imagine of going on this journey in theatre that you've been on for a number of years now without JUTE?
I think it would look very different for me. My first professional experience was The Impossible Dream, which was a show that was originally commissioned by JUTE a number of years prior to me doing the version I was engaged to do, which was by the wonderful Paranella Park people who are, you know, bloody legends. Sorry, who are legends in this community, of course. But then I did that, and you know, I was a fledgling actor. I was fledgling, and you know, of course, probably still am to a certain extent, but I don't think there would have been an opportunity for me to jump straight into another professional production telling a regional local story at all had JUTE not been here. I can't see, I wouldn't have even known how to do it myself. Like if it was just a musical thing, like if someone had come up to me and said, "Oh, Roz, that was great singing in The Impossible Dream, how about you come and sing?" But that would be easy, but I didn't have there were no tools around me to support me to grow these ideas that I may have had. So I can't think of how I would have still be in Cairns for starters, really, you know, without the opportunities and without going, "Oh, I've got this idea, Rosa. Oh, I've got this idea banging on the door. Oh, La Belle." And then, you know, the other shows that I've done in and around that with different actors like Susan Prince, who remains a dear friend of mine, and Rachel Terry, who remains a dear friend of mine, the Paradise is Singing. You know, I can't see how I would have had those opportunities. Regional communities offer those opportunities to regional people. Anything can happen in a regional community, and JUTE have really enabled that opportunity to explode, because when you're in a city, you are fighting against different, you know, you got famous people in the cities, you know, you've got stories, and you got box office things to break. You've got this massive poster on QPAC's wall that you've got to compete against. But here you can tell an authentic story. Someone like JUTE Theatre Company is going to grab that authentic story, turn it into something quite amazing with a whole bunch of amazing creatives from all over Queensland. Oh my goodness. Those opportunities ripple, you know. I go and make a work with Guy Webster. I go and make a song with Guy Webster in his studio. Ripple, 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 ripple. It's amazing where it can be and how it started.
It is amazing.
I know. I've thought about it a lot since I've been thinking about doing this little chat with you, and all I can say is thank you.
Beautiful.
Mm.
It's probably a good night to end, but I just wanted to ask a bit more
That's
about
the editing. You can edit.
Oh yeah. Just dealing with the, I always imagine when an actor's about to walk on, whether it's opening night or whatever night, just how do you deal with the nerves? And I don't know if you've ever had those dreams where you wake up or you, in your dream you can't remember your lines and you think, oh my gosh, I've got to go out tomorrow night.
Drying on stage. Yeah.
Do you have those moments just before you go on and think, oh, I don't remember my lines?
I have never had a moment before I go on stage thinking I'm not going to remember my lines, but I have had a few classic dries on stage, that mind you, and I reckon most people have. But that's because you're not in your body and in the moment. You're not employing those skills that you've been, you're doing in your brains elsewhere. But I have this classic Roz thing of standing on stage before I go. Only acting, mind you, because when I'm playing music, I'm just like, get me on that stage. Where's my microphone? But only acting is like, I sometimes have stood there and gone, if I just turned around and walked away, would anyone, what would be the outcome here? I'm actually just going to walk away. What am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this hell?
So take us to one of those moments.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I felt that in La Bella Figura because I didn't want to. I had too much at stake, too much of my story at stake, and of course Frank, who was an emerging actor, really. Well, you wouldn't think it, but and I was like, we're going to stick together and do it. But for certainly Rosa, oh my God, there are many times at the beginning when I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I'd have to say that almost every show there's been a moment of me going, what are you doing? And probably it's because I never thought I would be acting. I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a producer. That all comes kind of easy. But and I think because when I do this work with JUTE, it's certainly putting me in a comfort zone that I'm not used to, and that's kind of cool. It's really cool to put myself in that kind of, but it's managing the fight or flight. But yeah, it's cool. I kind of like getting through that and going, yeah, I did that.
Well, it's always great fun chatting with you.
You're fantastic.
Roz Pappalardo, there you go. JUTE will take you out of your comfort zone.